for everybody.
All right,
I was supposed to be live in San Antonio, but I did not want to be patient zero. And then everyone would be running around with Dustin Hoffman and Cuba Gooding Jr. trying to tranquilize a monkey, you know, if anybody catches that reference.
I got the reference.
All right, good.
You want me to admit people?
Yes, if you can. It looks okay. Perfect. You're a co-host, so yeah.
I got
That'll
you.
make my life easy. And I guess we'll go ahead and get started because I don't like waiting around.
Well, you're a minute late.
I know. All right. So before we get started, I was supposed to do this live down in San Antonio, but unfortunately, I'm not feeling too hot, and I didn't want to get anybody sick. So I am doing it from the comfort of my home. But we're still here, and all I ask, because I can't see anyone's faces really at all, if I do say something funny, just give me like an LOL in the chat, okay? Because I like to say jokes, and unfortunately on a Zoom call, you just don't know if anybody's laughing, so it's just kind of, I guess I just have to laugh at myself.
Nobody will be laughing.
Okay, cool. And if I start to not make any sense, it's because I'm overdosing on Ricolas, and y'all need to call 911, okay? All right, so this is the second or third time. I think it's the second time we've done this class. Internet leads suck. This class is very near and dear to my heart, and I'll explain why here in a second. So, why is this not going? There we go. Oh, too far. All right, so about me. So, I am the CTO of All City Real Estate. I've been in the real estate industry for about 16 years now. I started at the young age of 19. I was doing apartment locating. From there, I went on to go to Keller Williams, and I helped build one of the mega teams over there. Our first year in business, I want to say he did 17 deals. And then after that, the next year we did 64, and then went on to well over 100. And then at that point, I actually went and started my own broker LLC underneath All City. We were the first broker LLC. And if you've ever heard Kevin and Dathan joke about the first team that got in trouble with Trek, that was us. Nothing bad, but we did get fined money. So just be careful with Trek. That will come after you for petty stuff. So then after that, I ran the team for a while. And then I've always been the back-end systems guy doing lead generation. And I decided, you know what, I kind of wanted a little bit of a shift. So I started doing consulting, started coaching agents, and started actually working directly with and for All City. I've turned agents into six-figure earners in 90 days. And the nice thing is a lot of what I'm going to teach today is what I taught those agents to do. So you're in good hands. All right, so internet leads suck. So this is a wake-up call, and the things you learned today could save your life. That was a joke. Hopefully y'all laughed. So what I'll be going over today is kind of the stats, just the reality. It's a reality check on what internet leads really are, and it's really to help you guys understand the value of your database and start to really go after your database. I cannot stress this enough. I'm going to show you guys stats, numbers, actual proof that says, please stop wasting and burning your money on internet leads. We've got Ron Cook on the call today. Ron teaches his Infinite Client, and it goes hand in hand with this. And Ron is absolute testimony to this. I've heard him say numerous times how he wishes that he had started talking to his database sooner, because it's just a much easier way to run a business. And it's a lot easier than you guys think. And I'll actually wrap up the call with some ideas for you guys to actually go out there and implement and start talking to your database. So without further ado, let's get into the stats. So average internet lead close rate is 1%. These are for cold Google and Facebook leads that are typically driven to your website. And I'm going to break that down here on the next slide just to kind of drive home what 1% conversion rate really actually means for you guys. Zillow and Realtor.com, they actually close at a much higher rate if you're good at cold calling. If you're good at sales, if you're good at cold calling, I've seen agents do 15 to 25% close rate. So every 4 leads, they're getting someone in their car, they're getting a closing. That being said, most of those agents, I put $5,000 per month is what they're paying. The agents that are doing that I know personally, they're spending $10,000 to $30,000 a month. And up from there. There are teams paying Zillow hundreds of thousands of dollars a month for leads. So, and I've watched this change over the years. I remember when I was first at Keller Williams, Zillow leads were somewhere around $20 a pop. And I remember people complaining because in Austin, in Westlake, Zillow wanted $34 a lead, and people were just beside themselves on that. And now we look at it and we're cracking up because Zillow is charging $400+ a lead in not so great part of town. So it's just crazy how things have changed over the years. For Google and Facebook leads, I typically see they're about a 6-month to a year long before they actually convert. Reason for that is Facebook leads, if you think about it, it's just kind of like running an a branding or an ad campaign on TV, right? You're not really targeting anybody who's actually looking to move. You're trying to, but unfortunately Facebook has removed a lot of those things now. So really just kind of throwing a blanket net out there and hoping that someone bites. With Google, those leads are typically people who are actually searching. They're saying, hey, homes for sale in this neighborhood. And then from there, they might land on your site. So that being said, I put 6 months. Sometimes Google leads can close a lot quicker than that. But again, you have to remember, these are cold leads, right? These are people going to your website, not just your website, they're going to everybody's website. And typically there's a lead capture of some sort, right? It's like you view 3 properties and then it says, hey, to keep you in properties, you need to give us your phone number. With that being said, and I'll dive a little bit more into this on the next slide. You also have to take into consideration phone number capture rate and actual legitimate phone number capture. So Zillow and Realtor.com, those tend to close a lot quicker. They'll close anywhere between 45 days to 3 months. Those are people actively on Zillow. They're looking at houses. And when they pick up that phone to call or submit a form, they're actually serious about looking for a home. And the thing is with Zillow, guys, you're going to see in a second the beast that we have all created with Zillow. But it's just something that at this point we kind of have to accept. Zillow is what it is. That's where everybody goes to search for homes. I even talk to agents that say that they go to Zillow to search for homes instead of the MLS, which just baffles me sometimes. So putting this into perspective, if you get 30 leads a month, that means that for 3.3 months, that's how long it's going to take you before you get a solid conversion, right? Because if you're at a 1% close rate, and I'm talking Google and Facebook leads right now, I'm not thinking that you've spent tens of thousands of dollars on Zillow. It's going to take you 3.3 months because you're going to need 100 leads before you get 1 conversion. You typically need to do about 8 phone calls per person before you get an actual legitimate person. So you're looking at 800 dials, cold call dials, people hanging up on you, kicking you in the teeth. And then the real important part to me is it's not just about that. It's that you've now, over a quarter of a year, you've only added 1 person to your database, right? You've only got 1 past client at this point. That's not good numbers. And then when you start to break that down and you say, okay, that's great. I was able to do this conversion, but it's like, at what cost? And it's been a while since I've actually gone and run true numbers, but let's say that those leads are costing you $20 a pop. And I would bet that if you're in a major market, Austin, Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio, those leads are going to cost you a lot more than $20 a pop. Not only that, but there's a good percentage that you probably won't get a full 100% phone number capture rate. Typically what I've seen in the past is anywhere between 30 and 50% for a phone number capture, for an actual legitimate phone number that's the real person on the other line. So if that's the case, you're going to need 200 leads, and at $20 a pop, you're looking at $4,000 spent before you get a closing. Here's the thing. That's not bad. That's a really good return on investment, especially considering the current average sales price, right? You know, I mean, especially if you're getting a $10,000 commission and at All City, you get to keep 100% of your commission. Spending $4,000 to make $6,000 is not bad. That's a fantastic return. But what you really have to focus on is, again, how many leads are you having to generate? How many cold calls are you having to make? You're having to pick up the phone every single day and just smile and dial and hope that eventually you're going to get somebody, because eventually you will. You'll get somebody that'll talk to you. And there's tons of scripts and everything out there. I do want to make it very clear. I'm not trying to necessarily tell you all to stop calling internet leads, because I still do believe in them. I worked with a guy who he could close Facebook leads at a 13% close rate. And this was back when we were getting Facebook leads for anywhere between $5 to $12 a pop. So it is doable, but you have to understand what it's going to take for you to do that. And that 1% average close rate on Google and Facebook leads look at it this way, that's the average. Kind of like the average agent does 4 deals a year. That means 50% of agents do less than 4 deals a year. So for you to be at that 1%, and majority of people that I hear that are really, really, really good at closing Google and Facebook leads, they're closing at around 4 to 6% close rate. And these are people that are cold call killers, if you will. They will literally pick up the phone every day. They don't care what people say to them, and they have no problem just smiling and dialing. That is a very, very, very rare personality type. And the point of me telling you guys this is, I want to see you guys stop wasting money on things like this. Y'all get chased by vendors all the time that are selling you garbage. And I've watched numerous companies over the years do this to you guys. I recently had an agent approach me, and she said, "Hey, I just had this company call me and they want to run my Facebook ad campaign and post on Facebook for me." And I said, "Well, that's great." I said, "Repeat back to me the first thing that you said." And she said, "Well, they want to run advertisements and post on Facebook for me." I said, No. What was the first thing that you said?" She said, "Well, that they called me." And I said, "Okay, exactly, right? So if this company is so good at advertising on Facebook and they're so good at posting on Facebook for you, wouldn't you think that they could have targeted you? Because let me tell you, you guys are really easy to target on Facebook. Don't you think they would have targeted you on Facebook instead of cold calling you?" So it's like, even these companies that are trying to sell you these internet leads and advertising and everything, they're cold calling you, right? So you've got to understand the leads that you're getting. These are true leads. When you're getting an internet lead, it's not someone that's picking up the phone and saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you called. I was just on your website. I was just looking at 123 Main Street, and I was hoping you'd pick up because I'd really like to see it this afternoon." The odds of that happening are slim and none. It doesn't happen. Yes. Sorry, I get in trouble by my wife all the time for speaking in absolutes. It can happen, but the majority of the time, that's not how those phone calls go. So Zillow. I want you guys to remember these numbers, because it's going to play a big part in basically wrapping all of this up for you guys. So Zillow is a publicly traded company. These are their numbers from 2021. The parentheses are negative. So in 2021, Zillow lost $5.1 million on their mortgage department. In 2021, Zillow lost $881 million with their iBuyer program. In 2020, I want to say they lost $300 million with their iBuyer program. I really don't ever know what to say about that, because it kind of goes beyond, I guess, my level of understanding. I'm like, so you guys are basically burning $1 billion every year trying to, do these iBuyer programs. And we've known that these iBuyer programs and people that help you turn you into a cash buyer, these are not profitable companies in the first place. But the first thing that you should look at, or the most important thing here, is the IMT department, which is their premier agent. This is agents paying Zillow. Zillow did $1.8 billion in revenue off of agents paying them. That's how much agents pay Zillow, $1.8 billion. To make that number stand out a little bit more, their profit on that was about $544 million. So the last time we did this class, I asked everybody, and the numbers were a little bit different then. I said, okay, So if Zillow is making, I think at that time Zillow was making a little over $1 billion off of agents, and their profit was about 300 million. And so I asked everybody in the room, you know, when you get a $10,000 closing, are you investing $10,000 back into your database? Because that's effectively what Zillow is doing. They are investing all that money back in to making sure that your database, and that's the real point here, that your database is calling the Zillow hotline and not you, right? So I like to do a little social experiment, and we'll break down this glorious stock photo here in a minute. This is just, you know, this is Kathy, this is me. No, I'm just kidding with you guys. But anyways, I like to ask people all the time. I'm like, hey, how many agents do you know? And I always get a very comical answer, right? Like, oh, I know 1 million. I know more than I can shake a stick at. I know 40. And my next question is, how many of those agents stay in touch with you? And the answer is almost always 0. Okay. And then that's when I mic drop and I walk out of the room and they're like, what just happened? And you guys can go try this for yourself. You can ask people, hey, how many agents do you know? And I know you guys all know this. If you ask someone how many agents they know, they'll say 1 million. They'll give you a comical answer. So this is really, really important, because if everyone knows a bunch of agents, then that means that agents paying for internet leads are effectively just buying someone else's database, right? They're buying your database or your friend's database. If everyone knows agents, there should really not be any reason for anyone to be on the internet giving their information out, right? And the funny thing is that when I talk to agents that do Zillow leads or internet leads, even they don't stay in front of their database. They'll go close people and then never follow up with them ever again. They're very transactional. And the thing here is, if you think about this, if everybody knows an agent and if every agent stayed in front of their database, starting tomorrow, we would probably put Zillow out of business if everyone stayed in front of their database, because no one would have any reason to go call Zillow. They would pick up the phone and they would call you because you're staying in front of them, and they know when it's time to buy or sell, they call you. They don't go get on Zillow. They call you. You get them on an actual MLS search. Or if they do want to get on Zillow, they don't waste their time by submitting a form or, you know, contacting that agent via phone. They just contact you. They email you the Zillow listing. So I really want that to like sink in. If everybody knows a ton of agents, then there should really be no reason for anyone to pay for internet leads at all. It just doesn't actually make any sense, guys. So every year, the National Association of Realtors releases a book that is called The Profile of Home Buyer and Sellers. I highly recommend that every year you guys go get this. Realtor.com, they charge, I think, $20 for agents. And if you're not an agent, this report costs $200. So, but it's very, very important for you guys to go look at this. It goes over all different aspects. It goes over demographics, price points, like all kinds of stuff. But the two big takeaways are they go over how buyers and sellers interact with real estate agents. And that's the stats I'm going to be breaking down for you guys today. So first thing is, buyers on average search for about 8 weeks before they actually do something, or before they put something under contract. And by the way, guys, these numbers I've been watching these numbers for years. They really have not changed other than some of the technology numbers, which I'll point out. But most of the time, these numbers have stayed pretty much the same. There's nothing earth shattering here with these things. If you get this report, you're going to see the same thing every year. Most buyers do not contact an agent for 2 weeks. This is kind of that scary point, right? For 2 weeks, they're out there on Zillow, they're driving around, they're possibly going into open houses because they're not ready. They don't want to bother anybody. So it's very important that you're always in front of your database, because for those 2 weeks, that's where we run across the problem, which is friends don't let friends drive drunk on Google. And by that, what I mean is, when your database and your friends are on Google and they're going to agents' websites, what are they doing? They're giving those agents their contact information, okay, in return for viewing properties. When that happens, those agents are going to reach out to them and contact them. And here's the reality of it. You may sit here and think that your database is as loyal as all get out. But if someone gets on the phone with an agent and that agent is really good at sales and they sit there on the phone with that person for 40 minutes telling them their life story and all about their dream home, odds are they're going to use them to buy or sell a house. That's just the reality of it. So to me, this is probably one of the most important stats is they don't contact an agent, which is you guys, for 2 weeks. So it's very important that you're always staying in front of your database. And again, moving on, referrals are the primary method for finding a real estate agent. 73% of buyers spoke to one real estate agent. So again, tie that back into those 2 weeks, that 2-week time period. If 73% of people only speak to one agent, there's a good chance you could lose them. Sorry, not use them. And then the final stat here on this page is I found very, very interesting. 29% of buyers reached out by phone, 19% in person, and 11% by email. So basically 50% of people have no problem picking up the phone or coming and seeing you in person. And I found that comical because I talk to agents all the time that are terrified to pick up the phone and talk to their database. Yet 50% of your database wants you to do that. That's how they're going to get a hold of you. So just remember that. So this is a further breakdown of the profile on buyers. And I really hope y'all are laughing at that. That's the scene from Step Brothers where he's like, so the house was built in 1825 by General Custer. Anyways, I thought it was hysterical. So 47% of agents good grief. These recallers are hitting me, guys. 47% found an agent through a referral. 13% of people use their previous agent. 90% of buyers would use their agent again. 90% of buyers would recommend their agent and have already recommended them once within the first year. And then 14% of buyers found their agent online. So that's the big ticket item there. Obviously, the bigger ticket item is people want you, they like you, they want to hear from you, right? Vast majority of people are finding their agent through a referral or they're calling their past agent. But I mean, that's a pretty poor number, right? 13% of people used their previous agent. So that just goes to show you how many people stop following up with their database. If only 13% of people are using their previous agent. But again, the big number at the bottom, 14% of people found their agent online. So think about that. Go back to our first stats slide. If you're at a 1% close rate and you're only competing for 14% of the buyer pool, right? When you're going after internet leads, that's it. So you have a 1% chance of a 14% chance. And then that's also going to depend on your skill set as well. So the odds of you closing internet leads are very slim unless you're paying the big bucks, guys. That's just the reality. Unless you're paying Zillow, Realtor.com, or unless you're crazy good at cold calling. These are the numbers. Your database wants to hear from you, and people are not going and finding a real estate agent online. This was just a further breakdown, just to kind of like really drive it home. If you start to look at these, referred by a friend or relative, 47%. Inquired about a specific, these are the only two internet ones, I believe, right here. Inquired about a specific property or website, 7% and 7%. Everything else, I mean, open house signs are still doing 5%. Referred by another real estate agent or broker, 5%. I always say, and actually this is something I'm going to remind myself. I'll talk to you guys about this. This is a really good way to generate business. And I'll talk about it at the end. Real estate agents. I forgot to put that in there. And then again, employer walked into an office, 1%. It just really starts to like dwindle down here, but like, you know, mobile application, saw an agent's social media page, 1%. So for those of you out there really just pouring all your time into your social media page, just know this is your odds right here. A 1% chance of someone coming after you. Same thing, crowdsourcing through social media. It's not to say you can't convert on social media, and I'll actually touch on one of our agents who does an amazing class, Sarah Terry. I'll touch on some of the stuff that she does as well a little bit later on. What time am I at? I'm 30 minutes in. Okay, cool. found this chart to be very, very interesting. If you look at this, everything that's in blue, from the light blue to the dark blue, this is what people found most important when selecting you guys: your reputation, your experience, and your honesty and trustworthiness. That's more than 50%. And then the next highest one after that is the agent's friend or family member was the reason or an important factor for choosing an agent. So just remember, just because someone's your cousin or your brother-in-law or sister-in-law or something like that, it doesn't mean they're going to use you. There's a 13% chance that even matters to them. And then the big one that stings for everybody, for all of you out there chasing your designations, this is what people found important: 1%. Okay. I'm not saying you shouldn't get designations. I'm just saying, call your database. Okay. Sellers. All right. So sellers, 68% either use their agent again or were referred. The typical seller referred their agent 2 times since selling their home. 27% recommended their agent 4 or more times. If this doesn't tell you how important it is to stay in front of your past clients, I don't know what will. Basically, when you help someone sell their home, and it was the same thing on the buy side, when you help someone do this, they are actively out there. Think about it. They just moved into a new house, right? They're excited. They're having all their friends over. They're doing parties. They're doing all this stuff. They're then at that point recommending you guys, because naturally, you think about it. You move, people come in, they're like, oh my gosh, I love your house. Yeah, we've been looking to upsize or downsize or move to this part of town. Those conversations naturally come up. And what happens is your sellers and your buyers, when you do a great job, they're going to turn to them and say, oh, you have to use our agent. They got us more money than we could possibly imagine, right? Or they got us into this beautiful home that we didn't even know was available, whatever they're saying to them, right? So it's very important that you follow up and stay on top of your database. And I'll give you guys a great story here a little bit later on. Actually, no, I'll give it to you right now. So I was just thinking about my future slides. Sorry. So one of the agents that we took, hang on, let me see if she's on the call. Oh, I think she might be on the call. Okay, well, she'll be all right. So one of our agents that we took and did coaching with, she was not calling her database at all. And I said, if we're going to do coaching, here's the #1 rule. You have to call your database every single day. Doesn't mean you have to call every single person. Doesn't mean you have to call 20 people, but break down and figure out, I've got X amount of people in my database. We need to figure out X amount of contacts that you need to do with them. So in that 90-day process, she started reaching out to her database. She called a guy who she had sold a house 1 year before. And this is anecdotal evidence, guys, and I hate anecdotal evidence, but it's the reality, especially looking at these stats, okay? So she calls this guy and she says, hey, how are things going? He's like, I'm so glad you called. I just got engaged and my fiance and I are looking to go get a larger home to start our family. She said that if she had not called him, the guy said that his fiance was already reaching out to her agent. And so basically, if she had not called him, she wouldn't have got the listing. And she also got the buy, by the way. So she helped him sell his house that he had just bought a year before and helped them buy a new home. And if she hadn't have reached out, that guy he wasn't going to call her. They were going to go with his fiance's real estate agent. So this, guys, and by the way, that helped turn her into a 6-figure earner just by simply picking up the phone and calling her database. 3% of sellers found their agent online. I thought that's the first time I'd actually ever seen that stat on the profile of home buyers and sellers, or maybe I just wasn't looking for it before. But over the years, I've had a lot of people come to me and they're like, oh, I need a home valuation on my website. I need people to come here to be able to get their home value. And when I read this, I was like, it's kind of comical that all these people are going after, or they're thinking and trying to go after home sellers online, but 3% of people are actually doing that. And then when you look at it again, I mean, the sale of a home, typically at that point, right, they already know a real estate agent. Someone helped them purchase that home, odds are. And you look at this, 68% of people were referrals or use their previous agent. To me, going after seller leads, if you can get them for dirt cheap, props to you. Might not be a bad idea to go after them. But the reality is, If you've got a 1% close rate and you're trying to go after 3% of the market, good luck to you, right? Those are really, really, really bad numbers. And then again, on sellers, 82% of them only contacted one agent. They're not doing a whole bunch of listing appointments or anything like that. They're talking to the first agent that walks in the door. Again, this was just another quick chart that they had in there that I found very, very interesting. And by the way, we're recording this, so we'll post this afterwards if you guys ever want to go back and reference anything on here. So let's get into database. And I already see a question. What system do you use for database? I'll talk about that. I'll talk about CRM at the tail end of everything. So the first thing you need to know is you don't need a large database. You really, really don't. And actually on August 13th, mark your calendars. We're doing another class. We're actually interviewing the Hearthstone Home Group here at All City. And I was talking to one of the team owners, and she was telling me, she was like, I realized I don't have a big database, but she does a ton of business. And I know a lot of agents. I know an agent who did over $250,000 last year in GCI. And her database is, I want to say she said it's around 70 or 80 people. That's it. So you don't need to have thousands of people in your database. You just need to have quality people in your database, and you need to stay in front of them. The other thing too is you don't have to annoy people. Okay. And I say that because, especially for any of you who have come from any of the big box brokers who like to wear red t-shirts, if you catch my drift, you've probably heard these, what I view as absolutely horrible scripts, right? They tell you to call your database, and they tell you to ask them, hey, who do you know is looking to buy or sell? And when they say, I don't know, you ask them, well, hey, who do you know at your church that's looking to buy or sell? When they say, I don't know, you say, well, who do you know at your work who's looking to buy or sell? You don't have to do that, guys. You do not have to do that at all. That's absolutely ridiculous. And it's very annoying. And probably if you start doing that, you're going to be the person that people say, oh, great, here comes Nathan, So you don't have to do that. There's much easier ways to reach out to your database. The other line that I always hated was when you ended the call with, hey, when you think about real estate, will you think of me? Don't do that. That's lame. Okay. Be helpful and kind. So this actually really jumped out at me when Sarah Terry did her course on how she has basically grown her business through social media. And I found it very interesting because I actually sat at the back of the room and I was running the Zoom call and I was watching everyone's faces and seeing everybody in the room. And I found it very interesting when I saw people taking notes. And not to throw everybody under the bus here, but people took notes at what I felt were just not the right times. Sarah at one point talked about how you can purchase Facebook groups, and everybody wrote that down. Oh man, you can purchase Facebook groups. But the real takeaway from Sarah's class was she's kind and helpful. And she said that numerous times throughout the whole thing, by the way. But she doesn't go annoy people on Facebook. She actually responds to people's comments. That's what she does. People post something and she responds and helps them out with regardless of whatever it is. She gave an example during the freeze. Someone needed baby formula. They didn't have an all-wheel drive vehicle. Sarah, I think Sarah and her husband, they did, and they actually brought that person baby formula. Now, if your profile says Nathan Skinnell, realtor, and you're the one always in these groups helping people and doing these things, who do you think that person's going to call? Because they obviously know you're a realtor at that point. Who do you think they're going to call to help sell their home? Probably the person that drove across town in the middle of a freeze to bring them baby formula, right? So just always be kind and helpful. You don't have to post real estate stuff. If you're in your neighborhood Facebook group, you don't have to post real estate stuff on there at all. You can just have your profile set up where it says that you're a realtor. People will see that. And then when people post, what's a good restaurant? Respond to them. Obviously, during tax season, it's a great time to help people out. I watch it all the time in our neighborhood Facebook page. It's not even agents, and we have a lot of agents in our neighborhood that will post about tax stuff. It's actually random people in the neighborhood that are like, hey, what do I do to fight my taxes? And if you're the one that's there responding to those posts with actual helpful information, not shoving things down their throat like, oh, if you need a CMA, I'll help you out, right? If you're just telling them, hey, here's the process that you need to go through to fight your taxes, here's what I recommend, you're going to be the one that they end up calling, right? And doing this on social media, by the way, that to me, it's not even really database. That's a growing your database strategy, right? Because these are typically not people that are actually in your database. They're just people that are a part of a group that you've never helped buy or sell a home, that they see on a regular basis how helpful you are, you're involved, and people are responding to that. I'm sorry, I was just reading the chat, guys. I haven't gotten an LOL, by the way, or a laughing in the chat. I asked y'all for that, so I guess I haven't been funny. I'm joking. Okay, so tips for staying in front of your database. What am I at? I'm flying through this thing. Okay, guys, we'll open this up for questions at the end, by the way. So I say this every time I'm on a call, I feel like, all right, here's a really, really, really good trick for you guys to stay in front of your database. Take a screenshot of this. Text the bottom 5 people. If you don't delete your text messages, just scroll to the bottom of your text message list every day and text the bottom 5 people and say, hey, so-and-so, I was just showing homes in your neck of the woods and thought of you. How are you doing? That is a very, very easy way to remind someone you're in real estate and you're showing them that you're thinking of them and you care about them. And you're not being forceful about, you know, can I get you a CMA? Do you want to know your home value? Do you want to know this? You're just being a helpful, kind person. There's absolutely no reason that you have to go constantly shove things in people's face, right? Y'all are not working for an MLM selling, you know, deregulated energy or something like that, right? You're a professional and you're a real estate agent. So you don't have to do that. Just call and be nice to people. I put this up here because, and I always say text message because I know a lot of people are kind of scared to call their database. And I actually know an agent, the agent I talked about earlier, who did over $250,000 last year. She doesn't even call her database. And I'll dive into a little bit more detail on the things that she actually does to convert her database. Okay, hear me out on this before you all cringe and log off this call. Growing a database, as sad as this is to say, leasing is the fastest way you could possibly grow your database. And when I say leasing, I'm referring to leasing homes, not leasing apartments. And hear me out on this, okay? And I'll give you guys a few tips on leasing, because before you go to start doing leasing, you need to understand how the game works. Otherwise, you will get dragged around town for weeks on end trying to show people houses. And then at that point, it becomes not worth your time. We had an agent, his name was Joe, and Joe was a young guy. And unfortunately for Joe, he was a very young guy. And when you saw him, you were just like, there's no way this kid's going to sell a house, right? He didn't have the experience. He didn't look the part. It is what it is. I had to be very harsh with Joe. And I was like, why don't we do leasing? And he fought me tooth and nail. He finally did it. Over the course of 3 months, Joe leased, I want to say it was like 50 or 60 people. And in that time, he was averaging between $5,000 and $8,000 a month in commission. So over the course of 3 months, he had a 50 or 60 person past client database, right? So if you're going after leases, and I understand that there are parts of Texas that really don't pay on leases, but what I encourage you to do is this. Okay, if it's not paying any money, but people still need someone to help them go get them into a lease, what were you doing for the past 3 weeks? Have you added anybody to your database in the past 3 weeks? Or have you just been sitting at home doing nothing? Because you could have gotten in your car and gone and helped someone get into a lease. Now you've added a past client. Now you've added a referral source. You've added people that can actually start helping you grow your business. For leasing, we mastermind with a large team out of Arizona. And they, for 1 year, ran Craigslist ads. By the way, I don't recommend Craigslist ads for leasing. But they ran Craigslist ads, and they would only run Craigslist ads that were $2,800 a month and up. And when people would call in and say, hey, I'm calling about property that you guys have on Craigslist, their immediate response was, oh, actually, someone just put in an application on that. And then they would follow it up with, hey, like $2,800, this is a pretty expensive lease. You know, to get into this lease, you're going to need first month's rent, last month's rent, deposit. You're going to need, not deposit, prorated rent. You're going to need pet deposit. You know, it's going to cost you $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 just to even do this lease. Have you considered buying? over the course of a year, they generated 1,000 lease leads and they sold 70 homes, and they didn't lease a single person. They didn't go out to lease anyone. They basically just picked up the phone, pretty much lied to them and said someone submitted an application, and then tried to convert that person into a buyer. So, and I asked him, well, what'd you guys do the next year after you generated 1,000 lease leads? And he said, we brought on someone to actually do the leases for us. Because obviously that's a huge database that they had. That's a massive database of people that they could have put into a home. And then a year later, especially if you're leasing houses, those people are a lot closer to saying, I want to purchase a home. So when you really start to break down the numbers, you're like, if I go out and I do 100 leases over this next year, 20% of those people, odds are 20% of them will buy a home next year. So if you did 100 leases this year, and then you stayed in front of those people, calling them once a month, every other month, something, just staying in front of them. How's the lease going? How are you liking it out there? Do you like that part of town? And reminding them always from day one that that you love working with people from the time of their lease all the way up to when they purchase their mansion, right? You have to, when you're doing this leasing, you have to remind them that you are an agent who helps people buy and sell homes, but you like working with people that, are even doing leases, right? But so then if you do 100 leases over this next year, the year after that, you're going to have 20 people purchasing homes. That's way more than the average agent. 20 deals is a lot of deals. It's almost 2 deals a month. That's a lot. You're going to be making really, really good money. So please, please, please consider doing leasing. Here's my tips. Maybe we should do a leasing course one day soon. Here's my tips for you on leases. First of all, never meet someone at a property. Okay. When you meet someone at a property, they have very short attention span. Always try to meet them at a coffee shop or somewhere where you can actually sit down and show them your computer. Next thing is try to pre-qualify them beforehand. With leasing, I highly recommend going and talking to someone who's done leasing, because you do have to ask very uncomfortable questions to people. And you just have to get used to it, right? You have to ask them about broken leases, evictions. Do they have an aggressive breed? Do they have a criminal record? You've got to ask the hard stuff. And you also don't want to be driving all over town with someone who's not going to qualify. Next tip that I have for you, never set a lease client up on a home search. Reason being, leases come and go like clockwork. And when you set them up on a home search, you set it in their mind that, oh, well, something new is going to pop up tomorrow. Something new is going to pop up tomorrow. And so when you're doing that, that's when you end up driving people all over town for 2 weeks on end. The next thing, that being said, do not start showing someone until they're about 30 days out, because no property is going to be ready. No property is going to be held for you for 60 days. It's different in the apartment world, but in houses, it doesn't work like that. And then when you are showing them properties on your computer, pull up the actual map. And my recommendation is have pendings and actives checked with their search pulled up. So that way they ask you, hey, why are those a different color? And you can say, well, that's because those have actually already received an application on them. So we can't go see those anymore. What you're doing there is you're creating urgency. The next thing that I recommend doing is, once you narrow down the properties that they want to see, you guys go through and you click through all of them, say, hey, I'm going to call these agents real quick, see if I can get an answer and see if someone has submitted an application yet. Odds are someone's going to say, yes, we received an app. And you're probably going to end up taking it off of your list. So again, you're creating that urgency. And the final tip that I have for you is always show properties from the best to the worst, and make it known. Let them know, hey, I'm going to take you guys to what I feel like is the best property. And then from there, we're going to go to the second best. And then it's only going to get worse from there. That way, if you've got 5 properties on the list and they start to realize by the third one, hey, these aren't looking too hot, you save yourself a lot of time. You go back and you put an application on that first property. Okay, I did just remember one more tip to save you guys a bunch of time. When it comes to leases, this is a problem that Joe actually had. He called me one day and he was like, I need to get an assistant. And I was laughing at him. I was like, why do you think you need an assistant? He was like, I'm driving all over town for these people, like, delivering app fees and going back and forth between the agents. So here's the thing. I have personally helped with a lot of leases over the years. And with leases, especially on the listing side, it's so annoying if you have to contact the person's agent and go through them. So what I always say to do is when that person submits the app, call the agent and say, hey, I know it can be kind of difficult going back and forth and you want to get this lease wrapped up really, really quickly. Please feel free to contact my client directly. Most of the time, they are going to thank you for that, just because it can be a pain kind of going back and forth, between client, this agent, that agent, the landlord. It's a mess. So consider doing that. And then I guess I should mention, so where do you get lease leads? That's actually a good point. I should have started with that probably. Facebook Marketplace, great place to post houses for lease. Not a lot on there. Most people are doing apartments. There's a ton of apartment locators on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. Not a lot of people post houses. And you guys actually have a leg up on apartment locators. So apartment locators are real estate agents, but they are not realtors. They don't pay the board of realtors. So they actually can't show things like condos, houses, townhomes. They don't have access to that majority of the time if it's on, a super lockbox. So you have a leg up when people call you, and a leg up to say, hey, you can stop calling people. I can show you everything that's on the market. Another really good way to get lease leads is go to the MLS. And if you pay for leasing, I want to say that I don't know if every MLS is this way, but I know the Austin Board of Realtors, I think they charge an extra $50 a year or something like that for leases. But you can sort by our office's listings, and then you can go in there and you can sort by leases. So important note here, Zillow and homes.com, they don't sell lease leads. They actually drive the lease leads directly to the listing agent. So when someone posts a property for lease, they actually receive real leads that are saying, hey, I want to go check out this property. A lot of times, in my experience, when someone lists a property for lease, it's typically for a friend, a family member, a past client, and they really don't want to go out and show leases, right? They just want to put it on the MLS and hope that someone brings them somebody. So if you go reach out to these agents and say, hey, I noticed you have a lease listing. If you need someone to show this property, like send me your leads. I will make sure I get them to your property first, and we'll try to get it leased out for you. And agents will gladly hand you lease leads. Now, again, guys, I can't stress this enough. I understand that sometimes it doesn't pay that well, but you have to think long-term. You got to think big picture here when you're going after leases. These are people that are now a past client. They're a referral source. And if you're setting the stage from day one that you want to help them buy a home eventually, they're going to call you and they're going to start referring their friends to you. So don't just think of it as, oh, well, I don't want to go drive all over town for $300 or whatever it may be. Or even if you're in a part of town that pays $50, right? Don't think of it that way. Think of this as a past client and I'm investing in the future. Remember what I said about Facebook leads? You're going to go drop $4,000 on Facebook leads for people that are a year out from buying, right? Google and Facebook leads are 6 months to a year out from buying, and you're spending money. You're spending thousands of dollars to try and convert those people. If you go after leases, and even if you make $0, you didn't spend $4,000 trying to lease them, and you just gained a client and a past client and a referral source. So please consider leasing. I can't stress it enough. So this is client appreciation events. I love this. And I was just talking to an agent the other day. This is the agent I was telling you all about. She doesn't even call her database. She does client appreciation events 3 times a year. And she sends out a newsletter, just an email update, how things are going. And then I think she has clients set up on like a top producer market snapshot, or most likely with her, because I don't think she has top producer. She sets them up on an actual MLS search just to kind of drip them properties just so they can see what things are doing in their neighborhood. But she was just telling me about a party she did last year. It was a pizza party. And what she did, she actually combined with a bunch of other agents. I thought this was genius. She went, her and I think like 5 or 6 other agents, they all went and got a deal from, I think, Papa Murphy's. And for like pizzas were like $10 a pop. They talked to a title company, and they basically set up a drive-through in a title company parking lot. They had a tent set up. and they had cones out, and it was like a drive-through for their clients to come get a pizza. And what they had was they gave you a pizza. It was a thing of cookies for you to bake, and then a pizza cutter that was branded with all of her information. And I'll tell you, it's the best pizza cutter I've ever had in my life. It's absolutely amazing. Maybe I'll post it on Facebook for you guys. Even if you don't do this, you should just go buy one of these pizza cutters. But anyways, so they put together, it was basically this whole little package, right? Here's my contact info on this pizza cutter that you're going to use for forever. Here's your pizza, and here's your cookies. So here's the funniest part about all of this. They basically only paid for the pizzas for people who showed up, because they asked everyone, hey, will you be showing up, because we're going to place our pizza order, right? So it's not like they went and purchased 500 pizzas and 50 people showed up. They sent out the message to their database and asked, would anybody be interested in this? We're going to be doing this pizza party. And then when it got closer to the event, they asked, what kind of pizza would you like? And I think they did pepperoni and cheese. So the best part about all of this, she had numerous clients contact her afterwards that were absolutely blown away, because they didn't understand that it was a group of agents doing the party. They thought that it was just her with this pizza drive-through with this database for miles. They thought that she was like this super like over the top crazy successful agent with this massive database. No one had any clue that it was like a partnered deal. And she did it with people from other brokerage firms as well. It wasn't just all city agents. So I thought that was like a really, really good idea. And she does extremely well, guys. And you think about her total cost for that event was probably, I think she said she had 20 or 30 people show up. Her total cost was like less than $700 by the time she paid for the pizzas, the cookies, and the pizza cutters. Very, very, very inexpensive, and just a really great way. And I've known a ton of agents that do these client appreciation events. And again, you can partner with people, right? You can go reach out on the collaborative Facebook group or in the app and say, hey, would anybody be interested in partnering on a client appreciation event? And there's tons of ideas out there to do this. Just recently, they did a shaved ice party. Bring your kids out, have snow cones, and they have some kind of item that they give you that you'll keep forever. Another thing she does notepads that stick on your fridge, right? Nothing fancy. It's literally just her contact information at the top with a business card. And then literally it is just basically a blank note card. She has people reach out to her in the middle of the year saying, hey, I ran out of my notes. Can you bring some by? Really simple. Tons of people do it. And again, this is someone with like a 70-person database. As far as database goes, get a CRM. So I can't stress this to you enough. And guys, the best CRM is the one that you use. Obviously, we have options for you here at All City. We have All City Select, which comes with a custom built website, comes with Top Producer CRM, which Top Producer has rolled out some really great stuff, especially for those of you interested in farming. And for your database, the biggest thing is structuring it. The number one thing in a database is every single person should have some kind of future contact set, whether it be a call, an email, a text message, something. You shouldn't have a database full of 1,000 people that are basically getting nothing from you. So every single person, when you have a CRM, should have a future call set. You might get to that point of doing that call and you might be like, man, I really don't like this person. And you don't make the call, whatever. But every person should have some kind of a call set. The worst feeling in the world as a real estate agent is going to a backyard barbecue or a happy hour or something and hearing from someone else that the neighbor down the street that you know, or an acquaintance that you know, or a friend of a friend that knows you and knows you're a real estate agent, bought or sold a home with someone else. That's the worst feeling in the world. And if that's ever happened to you, I want you to go break it down and say, well, why was that? Why didn't they contact me? Ask yourself, was I staying in front of my friend or my friends about being a real estate agent and being able to help them in their real estate needs? Odds are the answer is no. If you're truly staying in front of your database will go out of their way to say, hey, you need to call my agent. They're the best in town. As far as your database goes, very, very important. Segment it out. Segment out A, B, and C category. Probably a lot of you have heard this. Your A clients, these are people that you're willing to go out to lunch with once a month. They are people that will absolutely refer you. They probably refer you multiple times a year. And take that into consideration. These are not just people that you're willing to go out to lunch with. These are people that are actually willing to refer you, that do refer you, right? So if you have an agent, or not an agent, if you have a client that you go out to lunch with every single month, but they're not referring you any business, you might want to dial back, paying for their lunch every single month, right? Top grade them, put somebody else into that category. But your A clients, this could be less than 10 people. It's not a lot. A is a very, very, very small percentage of people. These are your whales. These are people that legitimately multiple times a year will send you a referral. And for those people, I do recommend either a once a month call, text message, and definitely going out to lunch at least once a quarter with those people. Your B people are people that know you're in real estate, they know you're an agent, and you've probably worked with them in the past, but you may not be necessarily comfortable going out to lunch with them. They're people that maybe don't refer you all the time, but they're people that, when it comes time to buy or sell, they're definitely going to call you. And the point of staying in front of people is you're always trying to top grade people. You're trying to get them into that A category, right? And then again, based off of all the numbers that we just saw earlier in this, these people, they will refer you. And that's the whole point of this. You need to stay in front of your database. And then your C clients, these are people that might just be on like a drip campaign with a market snapshot, showing them what's going on in their neighborhood or something like that. They're people who know you're in real estate, but they're not actually out there actively, truly just like throwing you business. And again, so someone asked, like, what system do we use for database? So we have Top Producer here, is our number one choice for it. Top Producer has recently rolled out with, actually, funny enough, an internet lead conversion tool. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of it, or of internet leads, but if you are working like Zillow or Realtor.com leads, actually a lot of different sources, they can drop in there and put them on a campaign. And then the big thing with Top Producer that I really, really like, and it's to me the number one thing that you can send your database is, and even if you don't have a CRM, you don't have Market Snapshot, you can do this in the MLS, is Top Producer has what they call Market Snapshot. You don't sign people up for it. You set people up on a search. It links directly with the MLS, and it will send them a one-page snapshot of all the homes on the market in their neighborhood. So it'll show them pendings, actives, and solds, which is very, very important. I'm pretty sure Top Producer is the only CRM that will send sold data. I think when they were owned by Realtor.com, they basically found a loophole in the system, which is if you're sending one-off data, you can send sold value. So a lot of the CRMs that are out there that are just an IDX on a website, they actually cannot display or share sold data. And again, to me, that's like the best thing that you can send your database. Everyone wants to know, what the inside of their neighbor's home looks like. Why did our neighbors sell for this price? Our house is better, right? They want to log in and see why their neighbor's house is better, what kind of furniture they have, whatever. We judge people all the time. My wife and I will get on and we're like, oh, they chose that for their floor plan? Oh, that's awful. So it's a really great, best thing you could do, in my opinion. Thank you for the LOLs. All right, guys. Well, I have officially crushed an hour. Oh my gosh. I forgot. I said this early on and I wrote down a note. Real estate agents. Here's a really, really, really good way for you guys to grow your database. I only know of 2 agents who have actually told me that they have actually done this. So being at All City, you guys get to keep 100% of your commission. This is absolutely amazing because it gives you a lot of flexibility. So I remember back in the day when I was in the hallways of Keller Williams, I would hear people walking around who had just received a referral from an agent in Houston. And I would hear people all the time complain, like, I only pay 15 or 20% for referrals. Can you believe this agent wants 25%? And it always baffled me because these same agents complaining about that were paying Zillow for cold leads. They were cold calling for a team, getting a 50% cut. And I'm sitting here going, so wait a second, an agent in Houston just sold someone's house. They just put it under contract. That agent contacted you, said, hey, I found you online. I want to refer my client to you. They're driving up next weekend. They need to put something under contract. That is the best referral. It doesn't get any better than that. That's possibly a referral from another agent is probably the best referral you could get, hands down, period. That's a guaranteed, we're selling this person's house, they're moving up to you. Or, you know, maybe they're moving out of state and someone says, yeah, my brother-in-law is moving, they need someone to sell their home. That's the best referral you could get. So it always baffled me when people were willing to pay 50% for an internet lead. Or heck, you know, if you guys are on Op City, y'all are paying 40% for an Op City lead, but people aren't willing to pay big money for the best lead you could possibly get. So here's my recommendation for you. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but everyone's fleeing California and moving to Texas. So pick up the phone and call brokers in California and say, hey, I pay a 50% referral fee to people moving here. If you don't want to go 50%, go 40%, whatever it may be, but make it a deal that they can't refuse. That when they finally have someone that is moving out of California, they're like, well, I'm calling that person that's willing to pay me 50%. Okay. I've only had like 2 agents that have actually taken me up on this and actually done something about it. But there are people moving to Texas constantly right now. You can go look up any of the local business journals. You can see what companies are coming into town, where they're coming from. And you can just start calling brokers out that way and just saying, hey, if you have anybody relocating to Texas, let me know. I pay a 40, 50% referral fee. And then just stay in front of them. Treat them like your database, right? That's an easy conversation to have too. You guys can shoot the shit, talk about the market, whatever it may be. It's a very, very easy conversation to have. I'd actually argue that it's probably just as easy or easier than actually contacting your own database. So just an idea. Kim says, yep, 60-40 send your Austin leads to me. Exactly. And by the way, Kim's the guru at getting leads from other real estate agents. She does that all the time. So guys, I will open this up for questions. I'm going to stop share and then put all you over here. And then I think y'all all have the ability to unmute if you want. And I'm going to read through the comments here. Exactly, Lucy. Yes, I've watched this happen before. I had a guy that I worked. He was doing apartment locating and he was shifting into home sales. And he had a client that wanted to do a short-term rental, and no one in the office wanted to take it. And he said, well, I don't have any clients right now. Sure, I'll go out and show you. The guy very quickly said, hey, I realize I don't have very many options. Got him into a 6-month lease. 4 months later, the guy contacted him and said, hey, I just wanted to let you know a builder might be calling you. I put your name down as my real estate agent, seeing how you were the only one who helped me get into this short-term lease. It was a $750,000 home. He didn't have to lift a finger. New build. So guys, leasing, I am telling you, leasing can pay big dividends if you're willing to go do it. I know they suck. I'm not trying to like hide from you guys on that. I know that they can suck. You got to kind of learn the game. So yeah. Does anybody have any questions? Bueller?
Nathan, you were going
Yes.
to talk about Premier Agent, like a special pricing or?
No. Oh, no. I was just saying with Zillow Premier Agent. I was just saying, yeah, I was just pointing out just, you know, how much people actually pay them, that $1.8 billion. Or was that what you were referring to?
No, the system where we can get
All City Select.
All City Select. Sorry, forgot the term.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Kim, I'm not advertising that right now. Okay, I'll tell you guys about it.
No,
I'll tell you guys about it. Okay. All right. So All City Select, as you guys know, we've had the full package, which gets you a custom built website. It's truly custom built. You send us changes, we'll make them in less than 24 hours. We've done pretty much everything at this point, just shy of making a website that looks like apples. We've done some pretty crazy stuff. And we realized that $1,000 is steep. So what we've done is we've put together a very basic website. It's a template website. There's two options to choose from. There's a dark one and a light version. All you can do on it is change your profile. So you can update your profile and your profile picture. And then there's a testimonial section. It comes with the Homestack app, which is y'all's own app. So if someone clicks on it and opens it up, you'll be the agent they see. And it also comes with a full top producer package. So really all you're missing on it is you don't get a fully custom built website. The cost is still it's $150 a month. But instead of $1,000 setup charge, right now we're doing a $350 setup charge. And that $350 setup charge, should you decide to go with the full package, applies to the $1,000 setup charge. So if you're just trying to get in the door, hey, let me get rolling on this, get me a website, that'll allow you to, go set up your Google My Business profile and have people be able to find you there. And then down the line, you get a closing. You're like, all right, I want the full custom built website. We'll apply that $350 to the $1,000. So I will, we'll be posting that soon. It's not ready yet. We still need to finalize putting all the forms together and everything like that for you guys to register. But once it's live, I'll go live on Facebook and announce it for you guys, and we'll show you the templates and everything like that.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. And I don't know if y'all heard that the top producer farming thing that they just rolled out. I want to say there was a title company that used to do this same thing, where basically they use big data and they go in and they figure out who's going to be moving soon. He was telling me some pretty crazy stuff. All right, how everybody I'll just tell you, how everybody thinks that Facebook is listening to you on your phone, and they are. That's not the only thing that's going on. So he told me where they get a lot of their information from is credit card data. So if you're out doing a lot of purchases at home improvement stores, they will put you on the list for someone who's possibly looking to move. So every move you make, advertising companies are watching you basically. But anyways, if anyone's interested in that, I want to say it launches the 1st of August, and you can contact our top producer, contact Trevor, and you just tell them, hey, I want this area. And they personally go in, they map it out, and they let you know, okay, that's a 3,000 home neighborhood. We recommend doing a 200 or a 300 person campaign. And then they'll break down all the costs for you. They do a postcard every month. They do notes and a bunch of other stuff. But it's really, if any of you are out, I like this because our inventory is increasing. With inventory increasing, so are open houses. So, and we probably need to redo the farming open house course sometime soon, an updated one. But if you're doing anything like that, I always tell people, I'm like, if you're doing open houses, do them in the same neighborhood every single week. Just start farming the neighborhood. There's no reason to be jumping all over town. If you're doing open houses, do them in the same spot, get some branded open house signs with your photo. Kim can actually speak to this because I made Kim do this. She was farming in a neighborhood. And after a few weeks, people will start to come by your open houses and they'll say, yeah, we see your signs constantly lined up and down the road, and we might be looking to sell soon. I guarantee you that will happen to you, but you have to stick to the same neighborhood. So, Mindy, did you have something?
Yes, I just wanted to remind everyone too that top producer. So Spencer is going to do a class and kind of tell us what's, how to use top producer and anything new that they're adding. So that's going to be on the 18th at 11. So if you guys want to mark your calendars for that. And then just kind of also talking about database. I love my database, and that's how I do my business. And I did want to tell you guys, there's something called Home Actions. I don't know if anybody uses it. It's less than $100 a month. And part of my closeout procedure is I put them into that list. I just send it to Home Actions, and they pretty much do everything. There's a lot more you can do with that. You can actually kind of use that as a CRM too. And I have a call with the developer for Home Action so that I can kind of see what class he may be able to give us, because again, that's something that's really inexpensive. And it does more of like an article, design trends and stuff like that, instead of that lifestyles magazine we all used to use that would just sit on someone's coffee table. At least this is engaging, and it will tell you when someone reads it. It tells you when someone engages, where if you have that magazine, you've no idea when somebody reads it. So just something that I wanted to add on there. And I'm excited to see what Top Producer brings to us on the 18th.
Yeah. So I hope you guys all, and if anybody has a question, you can interrupt me. I hope everyone sees the importance. I don't think I said my joke at the very beginning where I feel like I'm on like a 12-step program apologizing, because I have generated tens of thousands of internet leads. And for a long time, people were like, how do I run Google ads? How do I run Facebook ads? And basically, I just helped people burn a bunch of cash is all I really did, because they really couldn't convert them. And then, over the years, I started to realize, okay, I'll give you another funny story. There's an agent who works in Austin. I love this guy. He would literally show, and probably some of you have heard me tell this story before. So we were running a team and we were cold calling expired withdrawals. It was a nightmare. Every day we'd start cold calling. I wouldn't cold call. I was doing all the lead generation side of it. But they would start cold calling at 7:30 and at like 10:30. And it was just literally, we were working basically from 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. every single day. Well, an agent that was in an office right by us, this guy would come to the office with a smile on his face every day at like 10 a.m. And we were like, man, what do you do? Because we knew his volume was really, really high. I mean, at this time, this was like 10 years ago, and this guy was doing like $400,000 a year in commission. And we were like, what's your story? And he's like, well, come to the office around 10. And by that time, it's lunchtime. So I go out to lunch with a client, and then I go on a listing appointment, and then I usually go play golf. And like that was his business. And basically the moral of the story is he built a database, and he would go out to lunch with his database, go out to happy hour with his database. And he basically grew with his contacts from, $120,000 a year, or not $120,000 a year, like helping them purchase $120,000 homes to now they're purchasing $700,000 homes. But to be able to do that, you have to stay in front of your database. I've watched agents who have stayed at the same average price point for years because they don't stay in front of their database. That's another thing to remember, guys. This is a database is a long-term play. If you're staying in front of your database and you're working people right now, and let's say you're chasing some internet leads and they're looking for $250,000 homes in Austin. If you're always running $250,000 homes in Austin and you're helping people, they're looking for the lowest price house, but you're not following up with them afterwards, you're never going to get them as a move-up buyer because you just lost that database. So the whole point is to grow with that database. And then the other thing is this: whatever you do right now will affect you 90 days from now. So if you don't start working your database for another 30 days, you'll start to see results 90 days after that. I watch it happen every single year. We're coming up on the time of year where everyone stops doing real estate. And the funniest thing was when we were when I was helping teams out and everybody and people that stayed working, their busiest and most successful months were November, December. The vast majority of agents, by the time Halloween rolls around, they stop working. They stop talking to their database. It's like, oh, it's Halloween. And by that time, then it's Thanksgiving, then it's Christmas. And then the first of the year, you're all freaking out. Versus if you kept working, you'd be stacking business up for the first of the year. Because a lot of people look to sell at the first of the year, or get into something that they want the holidays to go by, basically. So please, remember, whatever you're doing today, write it down. Wake up tomorrow morning and ask yourself, what did I do yesterday to help grow my business? And if you just do it, you just stay consistent. Funny thing is, in real estate, especially if you have like contracts to close, you really don't have to work that hard to make a lot of money. You can spend a couple hours putting together, doing text messages and phone calls. And then after that, you can go do whatever the heck you want, right? But if you didn't contact your database at all yesterday, you're going to pay for that 90 days later. Guaranteed. All right. Enough ranting. Thank you for all the LOLs. Thank you, guys. All right. If no one has any questions, y'all go text your database and call your database and post on the Facebook page when you do it. Okay. Tell me how many people you did. I better see some posts. All right, guys. I'm gonna kill the meeting. We'll see y'all later.
Bye
everybody.
y'all.